If you sometimes think the Bible is too old to be relevant in today's world, then I would like to challenge you to rethink that. Because I've read the Bible through many times, and it seems that every time I am reading through again, I find new things that really help me understand what's going on around me in the world. And that happened this past week when I was reading through the book of Isaiah. When I got to chapter 8, I found something that really made me stop and think about the truth that it was teaching. Listen to this from Isaiah chapter 8, verses 11 through 14. For this is what the Lord said to me with great power, to keep me from going the way of this people. Do not call everything a conspiracy that these people say is a conspiracy. Do not fear what they fear. Do not be terrified. You are to regard only the Lord of armies as holy. Only He should be feared. Only He should be held in awe. He will be a sanctuary. Now, Isaiah was speaking to a people, a nation that at that time were very much under the threat of enemy invasion. And I think most of you listening today are probably not going to be in that kind of situation. But all we've got to do is look at news, whether it's the internet news or the television news or newspaper, and there is no shortage of things that can cause us to live in fear right now. You know, as I just think through the current world situation, there's fear from bad political leaders, fear of sickness, fear of financial collapse, and it just goes on and on and on from there of things that can cause us to fear. And it's not like we are isolated. That is part of the world. There are just incredibly big things right now all around us that are creating mass fear all around the world. But Isaiah speaks to that. He is reminding us that there are going to be a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of ideas from the world of why these things are happening and what we ought to do to solve them, and who caused it or where it came from. And we have to be careful of letting those worldly viewpoints really get stuck in our minds and our hearts and cause us to just live in fear. And Isaiah wanted to make sure that we went back to the very foundation that helps us to stand against anything that happens. He reminded us that God is the only one to fear. Now, when Isaiah said God is the only one that we should regard with fear, he wasn't talking about being afraid that God's going to hurt us or do anything bad, but it's standing in absolute awe of God and His greatness. And that's the idea, that when we think about our God and realize He is the only one worthy of being worshiped, that we should just stand in awe of His might, of His love, of His grace, of His mercy, of all that He does. It reminds us that as a creator God with all power, there is nothing we need to truly fear when we live with our God, when we are held by Him. Now, Isaiah didn't take the naive approach and say, well, you just put your faith and trust in God and there won't be anything to fear. That's not true. We will, as God's people, still face very difficult things in life. But Isaiah is saying, don't let those other things, no matter how much it's built up by the crowds of people around you, don't let those things cause you to live in fear. Go back to our God. Go back to your God. Make it personal and understand that He is the one that gives you the power, the strength to stand up against anything that comes in this world. So when we hear the conspiracy theories and all of the ideas of why things are going bad and just that it's out of control in whatever way, don't let that overcome you. Don't let that just drive the fear deeper into your heart. Go back to God and think about the things Isaiah has told us, that we should never let the fear of the people around us cause fear to happen in our heart, because when we belong to the living God, He is greater than any of those things that will ever happen, and He will give us wisdom. In fact, I would say one of the best things we can do is to pray and ask God to give us the wisdom to understand the situation for what it truly is. And it's going to always be something that is less than He is, because He is the great God of all power and knowledge and understanding. But then, no matter how bad things are, trust God to be greater. Thank you so much for being with me today. May God bless you.